back with Planet Explorers 7.6 Alpha.
I think we need to find a way to go to where the Epiphany crashed. Before that, we need to regroup with all the survivors around here. That'll be your job. Did you get hurt or something? Run along now.
May I be of service?
Don't die out there.
Episode 20, Newt's Journeys. Barney?
Good luck. You might really need it. Don't die out there.
Okay, last we left off, we'd reached the Marian Camp. Now I'm going through my ISO collection, looking for a vehicle. This, of course, is an aerial vehicle, heavy land vehicle. Choices. These are all my original creations, built from previous versions of Planet Explorers. Sitting, waiting. This is not my creation, but is done by another member. It's one of the things that I have downloaded from ISO Planet Explorers.com. This is my original creation here. The Cyclone Night Strike Cycle prototype. There are several versions of this that I have. This one is built, as you can see, from copper, silver, aluminum. The original ones were actually built out of gold. This one was taken and broken down to replace the gold with aluminum, so that it can be built earlier in the game instead of later. I'd figured out that some of the materials can be made to emit their own light and glow. In one of the previous builds, I started to work a lot with silver, that's why silver is inside there. Silver used to emit a beautiful glow. Now we have the decals, which glow, and it's less material and less weight. But the silver still doesn't have a... Don't tell me I'm tongue-tied again. The silver does have a beautiful look to it. The silver is the glowing material between the wheels of this craft. The rest of it right now is built out of aluminum. I also found that I can make wood glow as well. Certain materials work better than others. It's just a trial and error process. Fun along the way. Here's one of the original prototypes. Cyclone Strike Cycle version 1. Before everything else was added. The version 2. Actually much better, used it in-game several times. It needed 3 wheels for stability in the previous builds. Now with the correction to that system and the improvements that the developers have made, it only requires 2. So I've been working behind the scenes in the mad labs to produce faster bikes, more efficient, like this one here. It's the version 7.2. Now I don't have these parts yet. As you saw last time, I bought some of the parts for motorcycles from Nang. I'm keeping the big wheels though, because the big wheels have more torque, more traction. This also has a high-powered engine, which I'll get from Nang. This can't be built till much later on because it has parts that aren't available in the storyline just yet. In Planet Explorers 5.2, I was creating this purple bike here. Alrighty then. Each wheel, each part, consumed a certain amount of power. As you can see, 2,100 watts for a wheel this size. So we'll remove one of the front wheels, instead of there being two wheels at the front and one at the back, and then we will try to recenter the front wheel. Almost there. Even the cockpits, the new motorcycle cockpit can take a certain amount of damage taking it away from the rider. And this one, the old vehicle cockpit that also goes into cars, has a better value. But you even it out for what you want and what you create. Rapid fire turrets. We will remove and also just reorganize some of these decals. I'll delete that one. Now this bike is packing 8 fuel cells, which gives it a fuel consumption around 96,000. 7,000. I think we'll keep that one. Now that's all of the decals that the ISO can take. I couldn't load any more. How a different brand. I can load more of the same kind that I already have, but I couldn't load a new kind. We'll save this again just to make sure that we got it. If we change the cockpit out for a motorcycle cockpit, or we can change it and simply save it as a separate ISO. So we always keep the original. Let's drop that into place, use the directional arrow here, grabbing it with the mouse, pulling it up and down, and put it just where you want it to be. Now, before putting this bike into the story world, I will export it several times from a saved checkpoint. In so doing, I can always come back to that same checkpoint to continue the story, and I never miss that spot. But I'll export this several times over and over and over again, as I've said before, which allows me to put it into the world, see how it runs, see how the passenger sits on the back, and if I need to lower that seat, I'll lower that seat, raise that seat, push the bar forward, do whatever is necessary. Come back, edit, remove parts so that you can see the rider's legs, stuff like that. Passenger seat can now be made invisible, so that's a plus. So I can always readjust it and then make it invisible at the end. Just so that you get the look that you're looking for. I'll rename this into something different. It's now the M2. That way I can save it separately without wrecking the one that you just saw me building. The bike looks almost the same, but just with slightly different features. I'll even choose a different picture. There we go. ISO saved. So whenever you're building something like this, always go over the attributes. How much fuel it's going to use, how far you want it to travel. You put 3 fuel cells in something like this and think that you're going across a map the size of Maria. You won't get too far, because the weapons also will drain the fuel cells. And until you get a base camp, you cannot refill your fuel tank. And by a base camp, I mean starting a colony. So that's also why I am building this. See, the materials are quite cheap, and I already have them at the beginning. I've got aluminum mines, I've got copper, I've got the works. So once I get these parts, it's fairly simple. And I can start out, have 1 or 2 or 3 bikes, and run them across the planet, completing my missions. Save my checkpoint. That almost looked like if Sarah Peterson slapped Tariq in the face.
More adventures?
We'll check out Nang's shop, see if there's anything else that we need to continue. We've got the engine right here that we need. We'll purchase one of those. We'll get all the parts that we need from him. Because you can build it inside of the editor itself, but you still need the parts to export it. So make sure that we got them. Whatever wheels we need, whatever cockpits we need, the new motorcycle cockpit. Sure, I may get the script, but if something needs foam to build a seat and you don't have it yet, buy the part. That's why I hunt and gather across the planet as I move. And some people will complain that I seem to take a lot of time to do so, but like I said, it's just my way. Each person had his own way. In the end, I never end up complaining about lack of resources. I always have what I need. I can always return and get some more gold. And when it comes to the hunt, I'm always gathering as I go along. I can sell off my materials, whether it be aluminum. Because I've got so much of it, I can sell that to an NPC and end up with a lot of meat to trade. Hit a gold mine, and you don't use gold for everything. It's a commodity of value. You sell it. Well, at least I do. Allows me to get all these things. Let's build them. Sometimes you build them, sometimes you buy them. Now, the developers said that they're going to replace the replicator system with a tree system, so that when you go to look up, say you're going to build bullets, and you click on that, everything will be displayed straight down, everything that what you need, instead of you scrolling up and down and up and down. I think that will streamline the gameplay and shorten things when you have to craft. Back inside the editor, and back out again. Gotta do one thing before I go back in. Yeah, there we go. Motorcycle headlights. And what I found with the motorcycle headlights, they don't seem to have any true power consumption beyond the other ones. They're just smaller in size. So I don't worry too much about that right now. I keep forgetting something. And then you go inside and you instantly remember, you pop yourself back out. There we go. Tires. 4 tires. More than we need, but that's alright. Make it 6. Mars Base Camp just turned their lights on. It's nighttime. Let me scroll through my list here. There's the M2. Cyclone Night Strike Cycle Prototype M2. I need a little bit of aluminum to complete it now. And a couple of headlights, and of course the seat. The seat I'll get from Adisa. I'll stick to the storyline and get it from there. So I won't build this bike right now. It'll be very close to its completion. But I won't build it here. I'll let Adisa play out her end of the storyline, giving me the quest for the side seat, and continuing from that point. Then I'll build the bike. Now, in my previous version, this bike had 7 headlights. Here's one at the back as well. But I don't need them all. Not anymore, because of the glowing material, how it works. And because, well, everything is power consumption. I can pull back on some of that power by reducing it. Since that things have been streamlined, and the lights give off enough light, I can pull them out. I used to use the lights on the inside of the bike to shine onto the outside, lighting up the whole area around you as you move, almost like Tron. But that won't be necessary. Even now, the blue on this bike, it all glows. So I'm not going to need all that extra light. I'll pull a couple of these off, leaving about 4 lights left. Just gotta find one more light to get out. There's one right there. There should be 2 somewhere else, and I'll just even the odds, get them out. Searching for those lights is a bit tedious, but I'm up to the challenge. I think I put one in the wheel. Yeah. Check around that area and find it. You can see that I've got this material here at the front. It's binary. It's invisible in the editor. I've not figured out how to make it invisible when it gets out into the world, because it traps light and it sends light through it, and then you can see it. Sometimes it changes within the light. That's the coolest part about it. But it was in an effort to make the light invisible. Not the light, to make the light that passed through it invisible. Worked in the editor just fine. I created an invisible looking mesh material because I was trying to build glass, but in the end it didn't work out. So I've kept this bike as just that, a prototype. I've not released it on the ISO site for download. I've kept it and tinkered with it in an effort trying to break through that little barrier. And then I kept it as a custom toy, something that I would always go back to and hack away at. There's a light right there. Always seeking to improve it. Just working on it betters my skills and betters my understanding of some of the new features of the game every time that it comes in. Now we have enough lights just by removing a couple of them. We've got just about everything except for the seat. Let's see, if we turn that around, face the other way. Except for the seat and a little bit of aluminum, which we can return to the mine and get. We'll scan around this camp before we go. It's not bad, but I don't think I want light shining completely backward like that. I might make more than one version of this bike anyways. And of course, this bike was created from the ground up, before the decal system was even put into place. So, the bike is not a decal, it's an actual build, right from the bottom up, straight to what it is. I haven't used the decal system yet to actually create guns and vehicles. I have to give it a try, otherwise I can't really report much more on it, except for what I've heard and for what I've seen. So I have to try, and I'll have more to say. You notice that we just went to Inspector there, took our material, and filled the bike with it, just by using the mouse and clicking and going across. And didn't like it, so I just undid it. The undo buttons and the redo button down below on the right hand side, where it says menu, those buttons down there. There we go. We'll save it. And we'll move on. Okay, so we've scanned the Marian Camp. There was no aluminum here, but there is a large, substantial deposit of gold here. I just have to situate myself, and I'll head on over to where it is. It's not far outside of the camp. It's basically within the outer walls of the camp. Make sure our tools are up to scratch for the digging that needs to be. And we'll end this episode with me here. Newt's gonna dig for some gold. And we won't stop until we hit the gold. But I want to send a special thanks out. A thanks to all of the modders and builders of the Planet Explorers community. And the ones that responded and gave me permission to feature their mods and their builds, their ISO creations within my little storyline here. I want to say thank you. And as we lead out from Planet Explorers, I'm going to leave you with some of the pictures of some of those ISOs and modifications that you'll see a lot of in upcoming events. Some of them, of course, are their own personal things within their multiplayer, so they can't be seen within my game, but I can still show you their screenshots, which they've given me permission to do so. So, this is the Marauder with Planet Explorers 7.6 Alpha. Special thanks to all the modders and builders out there who allowed me to showcase your creations. I'm out.